It was, I had to dig deep on that one, but it's something that happened just recently. We have put in a new turf football field, and we're doing in new tennis courts. And the greatest memory, I think, is watching those boys on the football team for the first time, getting out there and after 2 years of being road warriors, going onto their turf field and having a chance to play. And I was the first person to spike the ball in the end zone, so that was great too. You know, growing up in the 60s, it was really difficult for women to have athletics, but I was involved in, today it would be called travel ball, but it was ASA ball. And a great memory at 16 was being able to travel to Holland and for a couple of weeks and to play softball over there and to live with the family and to represent our country real early when it was really fun to go in those places. So that was a really great memory for me, and just being involved with athletics is awesome.
We were able to watch a young man mature from the 9th grade all the way to the 12th grade. And you know, he's a wrestler, and it was not as popular a sport on our campus when he was a freshman. But his senior year, senior night, he invited faculty, students, and of course administrators. So I was able to go there and see the energy of the school supporting this young man, and it was one of those hair standing up emotions and feelings that went on. So it was very good to see.
Cool.
It would be senior night, you know, being able to have my mother, grandmother, father to be a part of that. Had one of my best games, scoring 28 points, and just being able to share that experience with them.
As an administrator, I think it's probably been this past year. Our football team won its first ever sectional championship, and then obviously got to go on and play in the 7 AA championship. We unfortunately lost, but a good milestone moment for our program. Student athlete, probably running track and field, participating just in the Southern Section Championship, running in the 4x4 relay and dropping the baton and picking it up and having to make up some time, but that's probably my favorite memory.
Okay.
I have lots of memories, but I thoroughly enjoy the joy of watching kids compete and participate. But my favorite memory is starting unified teams. And I think that unified teams or unified sports that encompasses everything that we stand for at the state level, where you're utilizing inclusion. Those kids play sports not for scholarships or any other reason other than the pure joy of athletic competition.
Okay.
One I would say is just my friends 35 years after I graduated are still my high school teammates, and so that's what sports gave me, lifelong friends. I'll never forget all the memories and things that we shared, as well as I have a very vivid memory of my senior year and going into the playoffs and being an underdog for a 7 o'clock game and showing up at the gym at 4 o'clock to see hundreds of people in line trying to get a ticket, and pulling off the upset and seeing the court rushed and people carried off is something that obviously I'll never forget.
My favorite experience as an administrator was in 2011 when our first senior class at the school that I opened made it to the section finals at the then Arco Arena. But what was cool about it was the entire back end of the arena was all a big sea of red, and the community came out, and I actually had 2 parents in tears saying this is what we've been waiting for as a community with the new high school, and it was finally to make a name and recognition for Antelope. It's probably back in 1980 something, within a 24-hour time span playing Davis High School on the Thursday, I scored the winning goal to beat Davis or to get a league championship. And then the next night, kicking the game-winning field goal when they were the Division I defending section champions. So sorry, Davis, but you just made my memorable moment.
Well, first of all, I was an athletic director for 10 years back in Michigan, and I was an assistant athletic director at Elk Grove High School here in California for 5 years. But I've been a high school softball coach for 22 years. So let me speak to that. Basically, I really think that our student athletes lack grit and determination. And so I had a student athlete transfer into my school and as a junior and had to sit out. She was good. She was a good player, and she had an immediate impact on our team. But as time went by, she really started to struggle academically. Her attendance declined, tardies increased, and she just didn't quite make it. So right before playoffs, she became ineligible, and it hurt. So during summer school, she attended classes, and her grades went up, and she did well, and she became eligible again. But old habits die hard, and eventually she became ineligible again. We didn't give up. We kept working with her, worked with her parents, counselors stepped in, and she did better. And so we didn't give up, and she became eligible and ended up with 3.0. So I think the moral of the story is you can't give up on kids, no matter what. And, you know, to see her be successful was probably the highlight of my career, because, you know, kids can let you down once, they can let you down twice, but you've got to find that spark and just keep going. Not all stories are success stories, but they can be if you don't give up. I went to Michigan State University as an athlete, and I would try to remember one from high school, but that was so long ago. And back in those days, there was only one sport for girls, and that was basketball, and it was through GAA. And so basically, I have to think about my college days. I played 3 sports. I played basketball, I played softball, and I played field hockey. And I transferred to Michigan State in the winter, so I tried out for softball, and I made the team. And we got to get our uniforms at Jennison Fieldhouse, which was a huge field house, and it's where the men's basketball team played. Not the women's basketball team, but the men's. And that's where we picked up our uniforms. And we got to go under the bleachers where the uniforms were passed out. And it was so exciting to be given a uniform, because in high school, we didn't have uniforms. We had to provide our own shorts and our own t-shirts and iron on our numbers. And so to be given a uniform for the first time in my life as an athlete was just so exhilarating. It was the highlight of probably my career.
So when I was a principal, my second year as a principal, the high school that I was at the time had lights installed, and prior to that, we had trekked. Our teams had trekked across town to play in sporting events, and as the lights were being installed and the excitement that led into the very first game on that campus in well over 100 years. It was a special moment that brought the community together. So I grew up in San Diego, and I struggle to remember all of my teachers, but I distinctly remember all my coaches, and I think that's proven to be valuable in my life, and the impact that those people had on me. You know, walking down from our high school across the street to USD, which is where our high school football games were played on a Friday night, was special. The time that we spent with our coaches, the time we spent with our friends, and a lot of them have become lifelong friends, are things that I cherish and I'll always remember.
One of the most important things for me is to see the camaraderie, the friendship, and most importantly, the kinship that develops amongst the players. And along with that, the rapport then that's developed with the coaches and it's the classroom. It's education based, and you can't replicate what happens and what's created in those memories and those activities with the players, the teams, the coaches, in the traditional classroom on site. It's just as important. Of course, our main goal is education, but again, that's one of my favorite memories, is to see that kinship that developed amongst the team and the players. I was fortunate that my brother, he was 1 year older than me, and we participated on a lot of sports teams together. So while we're blood brothers and we have that familiar relationship, we developed a stronger bond by the fact that we competed, played together on the same sports teams for 3 years of high school. So I cherish those moments from a family sense, and I think that's important too, to see the friendships that I developed with my teammates were familial, family-like.